about to say in no way, shape, or form is meant as a brag.
brag
One more time.
もう一度言います。
The idea of uplifting oneself
自分自身を高揚させるのに
in a negative way, bragging.
否定的な方法でそれをやることをブラッギングというそうです。
'Tis not meant that way.
でそういう意味で今日は話すのではありません。
But what we are about to say is simply for the purpose of illustrating a point.
ただある観点を皆さんに示したくて次のような話をします。
A point about spontaneity.
スポンテニエティ、何か来た時パッとこう反応できる、そういうことです。
Nothing that we have discussed with you this day of your time was in any way, shape, or form memorized or planned out.
今日皆さんにお話しているどの部分も初めから今まで全然計画を立てたりこれを話そうというものはありませんでした。
I had no idea what I was going to say to you until I said it.
今日皆さんに言うまで何を言うかわからなかったんです。
General understandings, general directions are all we usually require.
一般的な理解、そして一般的な方向性だけを大体必要とします。
Trusting in one's own creativity and vision will allow one to understand the following thing.
自分の創造性、そしてそういうビジョンを持っていると次のようなことが理解できます。
That as you live in the moment, you know what you need to know, when you need to know it.
毎瞬毎瞬自分のいるその毎瞬に生きているとき、自分に必要なものを何を言えばいいか、そして自分に何が必要なのか、そういうものが分かります。
And you don't have to worry about memorizing and forgetting what it is you need to say.
思い出したり自分の言うことを、記憶したりそれから忘れたり、そんな心配がなくなります。
Inspiration allows you to create in the moment whatever it is you need to serve that moment.
その瞬間にインスピレーションがあなたに必要なものを与えてくれます。
Individuals that recognize that we have done more than one of the same workshop will still recognize that even though it contains common elements, it isn't the same workshop twice.
同じようなことをやっている人は自分で気がつくんですけど、一つのワークショップやって似たようなワークショップをやっても全く同じではなくて違う要素が入っていることを気がつきます。
We always spontaneously design our interactions with you to fit the energy we feel from you at any given moment.
毎週毎週皆さんから感じるエネルギーにちょうど合うように我々は言葉を選びます。
That way, no attempt is made to fit you into a particular mode.
それによって皆さんを我々の勝手な方向に合わせるんではないんですね。
It is designed for the moment that we exist in with you.
皆さんと一緒にいるその一瞬に、合わせて喋ります。
And we have a great deal of fun doing it that way.
そしてこういうやり方をすることによってたくさん私は楽しみます。
Because that way, we do not know what to expect from ourselves either.
そういうやり方をすることによって自分自身から何を期待するかもそういう期待がないからです。
And we are constantly surprised
ですから毎週毎週自分で驚きに満ちています。
by even what comes out of our own mouths.
自分の口から何が出てくるかを楽しみにしています。
Therefore, we thank you for the opportunity to have discovered new facets of ourselves by being able to interact with you.
ですから皆さんとこういう交流を持たせてくれたことによって自分の中の新しい側面を見つけさせてくれてどうもありがとう。
And your rate of creativity can fluctuate depending upon the energy of the moment.
その毎瞬のエネルギーによって皆さんのエネルギー状態も揺れます。
Just because you're accelerating doesn't always mean you have to be rushing about.
加速するからといっていつも忙しく前に進んでいかなければいけないんではないですね。
Just because you're being spontaneous does not necessarily mean that you cannot take your time.
スポンテニアスになるとき、何か来るものにパッとこうただ反応するとき、そういうことをするからといってゆっくりやってはいけないということではありません。
Creativity is feeling the energy of the moment.
創造性というのはその瞬間のエネルギーを感じることです。
Like an orchestration of music.
ちょうど音楽のオーケストラをやるようなもんですね。
Sometimes the energy will be very slow.
時にはエネルギーが非常にのんびりとなります。
Well, that was very good.
なかなかいいんじゃないかと思いますけど。
And sometimes the energy will be quite rapid and will be delivered quite rapidly to a number of individuals on a number of different subjects in a number of different ways.
そして時には非常に速いリズムになって、そして一人一人に違うようにいろんなやり方で伝えたりします。
Thank you very much.
どうもありがとう。
The idea to understand, however, is the following thing in all of this.
その中の全てについて次のようなことを理解してください。
The more you enjoy the life you live, the more spontaneous and creative you can be within it.
皆さんが自分の人生を楽しめば楽しむほど、その中でより創造的になれます。
The more spontaneous and creative you allow yourself to be, the more fun your life will be to live.
スポンテニエティというのは瞬時性というような感じなんですけど、瞬間的に反応したりできるようなこと、そして創造的になればなれるほど、自分の人生の中でいろんなものを作り出すことができます。
Therefore,
ですから、
in recognizing the creativity of your world, we would like to adapt something that already exists upon your planet for the next exercise.
Again?
Okay, go ahead.
Memory is created in the moment.
記憶というのはその瞬間に作られます。
Therefore,
ですから、
acknowledging the creativity of your planet,
自分自身、皆さんの惑星の創造性というものを認識して、
we
我々は
would like
したいと思います。
to choose
何をかというと、
something
何かを選択して、
from
から
something from your planet for the next exercise.
次の実習の中から何かを選択してほしいと思います。
Because your planet is very creative
なぜなら皆さんの惑星は非常に創造的です。
and contains a number of very creative and interesting people.
非常にとても創造的で、そして非常に面白い人をたくさん想像しました。
Now, a group of individuals on your planet has designed the following meditation.
皆さんの惑星のいくつかの人たちが次のような瞑想を作りました。
And we find this will help apply some of the things we talked about in the first part of this interaction.
そして今日の前半でお話したようなこと、そういうものをここで応用できます。
Because the idea of creativity is to learn how to apply the different definitions you create your life to be.
創造性というのは自分で学んだことをそれを実際にどういうふうに応用できるかということも大切です。
And to create communication within all the different areas of your consciousness that you have created yourself to be.
そして自分自身で作り出したいろいろな分野、分けたいろいろな個性の分野というのがありますけど、それとコミュニケーションを取るということも大切です。
Would you like some water before we begin?
始める前に直之から少し水を飲んだ方がいいんじゃないかと思います。Thank you.
It is called a walk through the forest.
これは森の中を歩くという瞑想です。
So all of you take 3 more deep breaths.
それでは再び3つ深呼吸をしてください。
And relax.
そしてリラックスをしてください。
And if you wish, close your eyes so you can picture the following idea.
目を閉じたい人は閉じてください。そして次のようなイメージを、イマジネーションを働かせていきます。
Allow yourself now simply to do the following thing.
では次に言うことをただシンプルにやってください。
And remember once again, there is no right way or wrong way.
ここで皆さんにもう一度言っておきたいのは、正しいやり方、間違ったやり方というのはないということです。
To the best of your ability,
皆さんができる限り、
picture whatever you imagine would be your type of forest.
皆さん自身のやり方で皆さん自身の森を想像してください。
Allow yourself a moment to simply enjoy whatever it is you have pictured, if it is something that you feel like enjoying.
自分で楽しみたいような森をただイメージしてください。
Relate to it as you look upon it in any way that feels natural for you.
自分にとって自然な形で受け入れられる森を想像してください。
And as you observe the forest, do also the following observation.
その森を見ながら次のようなものも観察してください。
Notice what time of day it is.
今自分の森が一日のうちで何時頃かを見てください。
Notice what kind of day it is.
イメージしている森が今どんな日なのか、どんな日の森なのかを見てください。
And then, as you take note of all these things, observe one more idea.
それをやりながらもう一つ考えてもらいます。
By what method do you create an ability to move through the forest?
その森をどういう方法で抜けていくかを考えてほしいと思います。
In other words, just so you understand our meaning, is there a path, is there a road of some type? How do you get through the forest?
どういうことかというと、道はあるのか道はないのか、どんな道があるのか、そしてその森をどうやって抜けていくのか。
By whatever method you have created, begin to use it to move through your forest now.
どんな方法でも自分でイメージした方法でその森の中を抜け始めてください。歩き始めてください。
Pay close attention to the kind of forest you have created, the types of trees,
どんな木を自分がイメージしているのかも、そういうのもよく観察します。
and the general atmosphere of the surroundings.
周りの様子も、全体的な様子も見てください。
Now, as you are walking along, you come to some type of a wall.
そこをずっと進んでいくと何か壁があります。
What does it look like and what do you do?
どんな壁でしょう。そしてあなたはその壁に対してどういうことをするでしょうか。
Allow yourself a moment to interact and decide what to do.
ちょっと時間を使っていいですから、その壁をどうするか自分で見ていてください。
If you have decided that it is something you can continue past in any particular way, then allow yourself now to continue along whatever kind of path you have created.
その壁をどうするかを自分で決めたら、そしてもしくは自分でその壁を通り越すことを決めたら、再びその道を進んでいきます。
If you have decided it is not something you can pass, then allow yourself to do whatever seems to come natural to you while the meditation continues.
もしくはどうしてもその壁を抜けられない人は、残りの瞑想をやっている間、自分で何をしているか好きなことを決めといてください。
For those that have continued, you now find yourself still walking through your forest.
歩き続けている人に対して進めます。さらに森の中を進んでいきます。
And as you do so, you come upon a bear.
進んでいくと今度はクマが出てきます。
What kind, what does it look like, and what does it do, and what do you do?
どんなクマが出てきたでしょう。そしてクマは何をあなたにするでしょう。そしてあなたはそのクマをどうするでしょう。
Allow yourself now to simply ponder the type of interaction that you have with the bear.
自分がそのクマと何をしているかをただ見ていてください。
And as you continue past this interaction, you continue through the forest.
そしてそれが終わったら再び森を先に進みます。
At whatever pace is natural and comfortable for you.
自分にとって自然で、そしてちょうどいい気持ちのいいスピードで先へ進みます。
And now you come across a box of some type.
そこであなたは今度は箱に出会います。
What does it look like and what do you do?
どんな箱に見えるでしょう。そしてあなたはその箱をどうするでしょう。
Allow yourself a moment to interact.
自分がその箱と何をしているかを見ていてください。
And decide what is natural for you.
自分にとって何をするのが自然かを決めてください。
Remember to continue to breathe in a relaxed way.
リラックスしたまま呼吸をするのを続けてください。
If you find yourself at any time holding your breath, allow yourself to release and breathe.
自分で息を飲んだり息を止めていたりするのに気がついたら、ただ呼吸を続けてください。
And now you continue in your imaginal forest past the encounter with the box.
それではその箱と自分が何をしているか、それが終わったらさらに森を進んでいきます。
And you come across a key.
そして進んでいくと今度は鍵があります。
What does it look like and what do you do?
その鍵はどんな風に見えるでしょう。そしてあなたはその鍵をどうするでしょう。
Allow yourself a moment to interact at this point.
その鍵をどうするかを見ていてください。
And as you continue now past this interaction, you come across a drinking vessel of some type.
その鍵が終わってさらに先に進んでいきます。そうすると今度は何か飲む容器に出会います。
What does it look like and what do you do?
液体を飲む容器です。どんな風に見えるでしょう。そしてあなたはそれをどうするでしょう。
Allow yourself whatever feels like the natural interaction.
自分にとって自然な行為が何であるか、それをただ見ていてください。
And now you continue through this interaction and you come across some type of a body of water.
そしてさらに進んでいきます。そうすると今度は水があります。
What kind, how big, and what do you do?
そしてどんな水でしょう。そしてあなたはそれをどうするでしょう。
Allow yourself a spontaneous interaction in any way, shape, or form that seems natural to you.
自分にとって一番自然な形でその水とやるべきことをやってください。
And now you allow yourself to move past that interaction.
それでは水のところから離れてさらに先へ進みます。
And as you continue through your forest, you allow yourself to absorb all the sights and all the sounds, including everything in.
そこを進みながら自分の見えるもの、そして自分の聞けるものすべてに目を向けます。
And you find yourself in a deeper state of relaxation by realizing that every sound needs to be included, not excluded.
そしてすべて見えるもの、すべて聞こえるもの、そういうものに意識を配りながらさらに深いトランス状態へと入っていきます。どんな音もどんな見えるものも自分から除外されずに全部含んでいくように。
And now you come across some type of structure, building of some sort. What does it look like and what do you do?
そして歩いていくと今度は何かの建物に出会います。どんな建物でしょう。そしてあなたは何をするでしょう。
Allow yourself a moment for this interaction.
自分が何をしているかちょっと見ていてくださ
い。And breathe 3 times.
そして深呼吸を3回します。
I want to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Once again, we will take this opportunity to extend to each and every one of you, individually, and all of you together, collectively, our deep and profound appreciation for allowing this transmission to occur through this particular gateway at this time. Once again, each and every time you allow such a co-created interaction to take place, it affords our civilization an opportunity to experience through each and every one of you and your unique perspectives that many more ways that the infinite has of expressing itself within creation, and this expands our understanding of creation, so we thank you for this gift. We would like to begin this transmission this day of your time with a very short idea, and it is as follows. Many of you now in this age of transformation, as you have called it in your language, are of course perceiving many different kinds of so-called predictions of a variety of probable future realities. And of course, once again, we remind you briefly that there really is no such thing as a prediction of the future, but only a sensing of the energy that exists at the time the prediction is made. And if that energy, of course, does not change, then it will perhaps come to pass. But many times, the prediction being made and making individuals aware of where the energy may lie will have its effect and its impact upon itself. And a prediction once made, now in the awareness of the collective population, can actually, by having made itself become aware, render itself obsolete, and thus can change the prediction even as it is spoken. The idea, therefore, is to always remember that the future is not fixed, that the choices are always up to you to decide both individually for your own unique lives and collectively altogether what kind of a reality you want to experience, and that when you sense a certain idea may seem to be the representation of the future, please do take a moment to remember that all you're doing is sensing the energy that exists right then and there as the sensing is made, and that it is up to you to determine whether you, shall we say, prefer that energy to go in that direction, to keep moving along that path, or whether you would prefer to exercise your free will, your choice, and to change it in the direction that is more representative of the kind of reality you say is in alignment with your true self, your nature, your core creativity, and who it is you prefer to be. The idea, in a sense, therefore, is that as you become more proficient with regard to knowing consciously that you choose your reality and exercising that choice moment to moment, then you will, in a sense, become quite unpredictable. And in that way, free yourself from the idea that anything has to go in one particular direction or another, aside from what might be the most generalized of themes that you have all agreed to play out. There is a lot of leeway, as you say, in exactly how it is you will experience any of the general agreements you share with each other as you create your mass consensus agreed upon reality. So free yourselves up, become unpredictable in your ability to spontaneously act and choose what realities you prefer, and to change yourselves as you see fit, so that you will become truly dynamic reflections of creation as you were designed by creation to be. We thank you for allowing us to take this opportunity to share this notion, this point of view with each and every one of you, and allowing this transmission to take place. And we understand that you have a bit of a difference tonight with your format, and we will thus then go along with you in allowing there to be communication, specifically with regard to the individuals who wish to open this dialogue this day of your time. You may proceed as you wish.
Bashar,
Good day to you.
Good day. There have been a lot of mentions of UFOs and alien life in the last 2 days on the news.
Yes.
And I was wondering whether there is any truth to that.
There are always, shall we say, excursions and observations that are being made from a variety of different civilizations in observing the changes going on your planet. From time to time, of course, individuals will perceive things that are not necessarily what you would call our spacecraft or the spacecraft of other civilizations. They will place upon these viewings their own interpretations, of course, but yes, from time to time, an individual may view a spacecraft from another civilization. It is not in that sense uncommon, but the idea also is that for a variety of reasons, your people have a great fascination with our civilizations, when in fact the real issue at hand is to develop a stronger fascination with your own civilization rather than looking so much to us. The idea is that to turn that view back on yourselves and to use the ideas that you find inspirational in knowing that there is other consciousness, other life, to turn that idea back upon yourselves to create yourselves to be what you need to be. But yes, from time to time, people do see our crafts, and of course, from time to time, they have what you would call misinterpretations.
So joining you as another alien civilization would not be possible?
It is possible, but it is not yet the appropriate time, for there is much that you have to do on your planet in order to become more cohesive. Understand that civilizations that function holistically, that do not have the kind of divisions in their society that you exhibit, and of course you are not the only planet that exhibits divisions, but many of the civilizations that are observing your planet do not have the kind of divisions you have. These holistic civilizations operate on a very high frequency level of energy. And if your civilization were forced to be exposed to civilizations that operate on a higher frequency level, In a sense, exposure to that high energy would actually, in some senses, be detrimental to you. For exposure to that high energy would actually force you and your energy to change, force you to look at the things you have hidden within your consciousness, and in that sense can actually create psychotic shock if you're not ready to absorb the things that that energy might force you to look at within your own psyche. So the idea is that, yes, you will be ready. Perhaps, again, remember what we said about predictions, but perhaps by no later than what you would call your year of 2037, your world, as best as we can sense it right now, may become a member of what we call the Association of Worlds in your immediate localized area of your galaxy. It is possible, and you are making many changes that may make it probable, but you are not ready yet. No, look at your own world. You can see that you are not ready to join other worlds who operate holistically.
One last question.
Yardsticks. We use this nomenclature, this terminology to talk about relativity in a sense. Relativity in perspective, in point of view. To simply remind you once again, in yet another way, that each and every individual is his or her own reality. And whatever measuring rods, whatever yardsticks you may use to measure the reality you believe to be true, are not applicable to use to measure the reality that someone else believes is true for its validity. The yardsticks you create in your reality are valid for your reality and will very accurately measure the ideas going on in your reality, in your belief structure. But they cannot be used to measure the validity in someone else's reality because they have a different set of yardsticks and they are very often quite of different length. Many of you are familiar with what your physicists refer to as the time dilation effect. Are some of you familiar with this idea? The idea simply is that as you move faster and faster in your physical universe, attaining a great deal of the percentage of the speed of light, the faster you go, the more time slows down apparently from your point of view. That is, while you are remaining in your physical dimension. The idea of the hyperspace travel we talk about, the instantaneous teleportation, is quite another thing and does not apply to this idea. But while you remain in your physical universe, if you go very fast, very close to what you call the speed of light, you will find that time will slow down for the individual doing the traveling. Now, all things being relative, as many of you understand, to the individual doing the traveling, it will seem as if everything is moving at the same rate of time. To them, it will seem that everyone else has sped up very rapidly, and that they are still going about their business, doing the same things they always do at the rate that they are comfortable with. Not only in that sense does time slow down, but all objects will, in a sense, shorten in the direction that they are traveling. So very literally, if you have a yardstick, let us say, on your hypothetical spacecraft, and you are moving in a particular direction at a great percentage of the speed of light, to an individual standing still, relatively speaking, your yardstick on the ship, by the time you are a good fraction of the speed of light, will actually only be as long as, let us say, approximately 3 inches. You will still think it is a yard long. 3 of your feet, not 3 of your inches. And of course, everything you measure in the ship will still appear to be its normal size because everything has shrunk accordingly. So it has all stayed in one particular coherent system, and you cannot tell the difference. This is analogous to the idea we are talking about because every single individual vibrates at a slightly different rate of energy and has a different perspective about what is true and real for them. Yes, you have, as we have discussed, obviously a collective agreed upon reality that you share general ideas and sometimes some very specific ideas within. But nonetheless, being an individual by definition will allow you to always recognize that the yardstick you use to measure things with, and we are speaking both literally and philosophically, will not be exactly precisely the same length as someone else's. And they will measure things in a slightly different way. To each of you, the equations will seem to come out correctly. You will measure 3 feet, they will measure 3 feet, but that 3 feet is relative. And if you compare them, they may be a different 3 feet. but you can at least agree enough to get the job done. Recognize, simply, that what we share with you is our yardstick, the measurement by which we decide what works for us in our civilization. We share these ideas in a general way with you, but in no way, shape, or form do we ever mean to imply that your yardstick, your measurements, your ideas, your points of view are not equally valid, and in a sense not more important for you to pay attention to, because they are the yardsticks that measure the reality you have decided is real. So remember, even when we describe and define down to the last inch, the last millimeter, our yardstick, you may find similar marks on yours, but that is your version of ours, and is never meant to be that you must do things in exactly the way we do them. Being an individual, you will always do something in your own way, slightly uniquely or greatly uniquely, but it will always be slightly different from the way anyone else does it. That is to be expected, and that is to be cherished. For it is the variance, it is the different points of view, it is the relativity which allows there to be an ongoing discovery of new attitudes, new perspectives, new points of view in life. That something will always be seen slightly differently through another pair of eyes will add to the enrichment of all the different ways that creation has of manifesting itself to be. You all follow along? Well, thank you very much. Pamela. Mice, especially little mice, represent generally the idea of information as they may scurry in between the walls of your structures, delivering information to and fro within some of those portions that many of you consider to be your unconscious streams of communication within the self, but also they are simply little reminders who appear where they need to simply be a symbol, if you wish, an omen, a representative mirror of some of the gentle little reminders to look in certain places, to awaken little sleeping ideas that will now pop forth and be in your conscious awareness. They are that which startles you to life in that sense and allows you to look at a corner of yourself that may have been so small in your imagination that it may have been previously overlooked, but contains every bit of validity that every other portion contains. They are little reminders. They are the little memos that you write to yourself. Thank you very much. At this timing, allow us to extend to you once again our heartfelt appreciation in allowing us to interact with you. And in exchange for this loving gift, I ask you now, how may I serve you?
It did, and it's happened several times.
Right, were there beings on that craft,
yes.
And what happened to them?
Some of them died, some of them lived.
And so did the government, the army, the military take these beings and try to extract information from them?
Yes.
What happened?
As you say, they attempted to extract information and knowledge from them.
Were they successful?
To some degree, but not to the degree that they would have liked.
There's a man by the name of Bob Lazar who claims that he actually saw the craft and then worked to reverse engineer the craft for the US government. Do you believe that this is true?
Belief has nothing to do with it. This is correct.
True? It is. And so do we currently have that technology? Were we able to harness it?
You have some degree of the technology in what, no offense, we would call a relatively primitive form. But yes, you do have some degree of that technology.
Right. So, UFOs are appearing with more and more frequency all over the world, all of the time, every day.
No, you are just noticing them more often than not.
Right. But with these craft, are they made up of lots of different things, or are they mainly craft manned by extraterrestrial?
It is a mix. There are some sightings that have to do with advanced craft on your planet. Not even those that were retro-engineered, as you say. Some sightings have to do with the retro-engineered craft that you're discussing now. Some of them are extraterrestrial, and some of them are other kinds of phenomenology that you're not really familiar with yet. Extradimensional, interdimensional, intradimensional. There are many different levels to these ideas of sightings.
So with these craft that aren't man-made, are they being piloted by extraterrestrial, or are they just, like a drone being flown
Both.
around?
Both. There are automatic drones, as you say. There are those that are piloted.
Talking about a civilization more advanced than ours that has UFOs that can fly from one edge of the universe to the other in a second, are they owned by the everyday extraterrestrial? And are the everyday extraterrestrial visiting us occasionally via space tourism?
It depends on the civilization. Some are allowed to observe, in a manner of speaking, but you must understand that your world, to some degree, is a little bit quarantined, a little bit hands-off, a little bit off limits, to allow for non-interference in your evolutionary path, aside from whatever information from sources such as myself and others that will not necessarily intervene, because you're given the opportunity to decide whether or not you wish to adopt it or believe in it at all. This is one of the reasons why we stay in the background. We do not wish to force our existence upon you. This is one of the ways in which first contact, at least for our civilization, occurs. We give you information through whatever sources are available to us to see what you will do with that information. We watch and we wait. And depending upon the actions and the choices you make, determines for us whether or not you're actually ready for open contact, ready to join the larger galactic family that exists all around you. So it's really in your hands. It's really up to you.
So are we being excluded from the galactic family? It sounds like a lot of different civilizations are spending time with each other and visiting each other, going from planet to planet and, exploring each other's civilizations. Why are we being excluded?
You are not being excluded. You are excluding yourselves by making certain choices.
Subconsciously?
Subconsciously.
Right.
Yes, and sometimes consciously, because of fear-based beliefs about what you think will happen, or what you think your status is, or position, or so on and so forth, and many other kinds of ideas like that that aren't necessarily conducive to you being able to come out here and join us. You could join us in a heartbeat, but you have to make those choices. You're not making those choices.
Okay.
Remember, when the country you call the United States decided that it would go to the moon, how quickly did that occur? Within a decade,
Right.
you went from nothing to being on your moon. And yes, you went to the moon. We can hear all of you going, did we really go to the moon? Yes, you went to the moon. But the idea is that you need that kind of focus and say, all right, we're going to go to the stars. We're going to pool together our knowledge. We're going to create free energy. We're going to feed everyone. We're going to love ourselves and love everyone. We're going to drop all the pretense. We're going to really be ourselves. We're going to work together, and we're going to serve everyone together. What you could accomplish by just changing those things, you would be astonished at how quickly you could be among us, among the stars. But this is not necessarily the path of everyone on your planet. So you have to decide for yourselves what you prefer and what you don't. It's in your hands. It's up to you. It's your world, not ours.
Right.
We have nothing to prove to you, and it is not about proving that we are real. We give you the information because the information proves itself that it is real, and you can decide what to think about us. There is no way at this time we can prove that we exist objectively, because that's not the point of how we do first contact. You must decide for yourselves that the information we share with you is something you can apply into your civilization and that it works for you. Then you will raise your frequency and be more vibrationally compatible to those that you will meet from other worlds. Because vibrationally speaking, many of you are not vibrationally compatible to the frequency on which we exist. And exposing ourselves to you could create psychic shock in many of you by forcing the things you're not willing to look at within your own consciousness to the surface before you're ready to integrate them. So we are doing you the service of staying in the background until you're ready for more. Now, some forms of extraterrestrials, you can interact with. And as I said, because the Greys are interacting with you, they are another form of human. They're not really extraterrestrials in the classic sense. Therefore, there isn't really a vibrational issue. But from our civilization, in a parallel reality that we exist in, we operate 10 times faster than you do. In a sense, by exposing our vibration to your vibration, it would be like smashing a high spinning gear and a slow spinning gear together before they're ready to mesh. It would strip your gears. So we give you this information so you can speed up your gears and meet us halfway. Then we will merge.
Right. Speaking of the moon,
Yes.
there's been a lot of conjecture about about the dark side of the moon. We've never been able to see it with our human eyes.
Well, that's not true. You have had astronauts orbit around it, and the other side is not perpetually dark, regardless of the name. It just means you can't see it from Earth because your moon is tidally locked gravitationally and only shows you one face, one
face.
side. But the other side is just as light, just as often as the foreside is, and many astronauts have gone around the other side and seen that side of your moon.
Is there a base there for
There are some
craft?
extraterrestrial bases on your moon, yes.
Is there a reason that astronauts or our government haven't returned to the moon for such a long period of time?
They had to decide what to do about the idea of the information that you are not alone, because many of your astronauts have seen our craft and the bases on the moon and have been told not to talk about it. So you took a while to decide that maybe you could, over time, get your civilization used to the idea that you're not alone, and therefore now you are returning to the moon.
Okay. So I've been told that there are many different alien civilizations. We hear of the Greys, we hear of the reptilians. There's so many different kinds.
More than you know.
Are there? Well, how many? Like billions, millions,
Millions
thousands?
and millions.
Millions and millions.
Now, I myself, as a first contact specialist, have been in contact with over 150. But that is a drop in the bucket, as you say.
With over 150. And are any of these civilizations to be feared by us?
None that you have to worry about will ever reach you at this point.
Okay.
You are, in that sense, protected.
Do we possess the ability right now to be able to reverse climate change?
Some things you have done are now irreversible. You do have the ability to mitigate it. You do have the ability to adapt in clever and creative ways. But some of the things you have done are now irreversible. You will simply have to get used to it. But some things, yes, you can prevent
Okay.
if you take physical action. A unified physical action.
There's been many wars on our planet. Most of these wars have been caused by
Fear.
fear. Religion
Fear.
has been, well, yeah, fear of differences of opinion. The main religions on this planet are obviously Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, and
Judaism.
Catholicism.
Catholicism.
Catholicism, thank you. But did the story of Jesus and the nativity scene and all of that happen?
To some degree, yes.
Right.
It is a real individual that did exist on your planet.
But was this individual a descendant of the creator of the planet?
You all are descendants of the Creator.
So is there a God?
There is all that is. This is how we refer to what you call God. Everything is made of God. Existence itself is a self-aware intelligence. Everything is made of God. There's nothing else to make anything from. It is all that is.
Can you tell me about creation? About how it all began?
It didn't begin. Existence only exists. It is what is. It is not subject to the idea of time. Time is subject to it. So existence itself has no beginning and no end. I know that is sometimes a challenge to wrap human minds around, but nevertheless, that's the way it is. Existence has one quality, existence. It doesn't ever become non-existent, because everything that will ever not exist already fills up non-existence. By its own definition, non-existence doesn't exist. That's its quality, to not exist. So that which exists cannot become non-existent.
That brings me on to the topic of time.
Yes.
Is time travel possible?
Not in the way your science fiction films depict it. It is simply a shift to a parallel reality that may look like your past, but it is a different reality. It is a different timeline. It is a different stream. So you can shift to things, but there will never be what you call the grandfather paradox, because if, as you say in the example that is given, you deliberately or accidentally kill your grandfather, you are killing the grandfather of a different parallel reality. It will not affect your timeline at all.
So no butterfly effect, no ripple effect.
Butterfly effect is something different.
Right.
It is simply the idea that a small change in one place can cause a large change in another. That is something quite different. But the kind of ripples you're talking about with regard to the concept of time travel do not exist in the way that you think they do, although there is absolutely cross-communication between parallel realities. In that sense, there are many, many ripples that you experience every day and don't even know you're experiencing them. Sometimes when you have a certain thought, it may not be coming from this timeline. It may be coming from another version of yourself in a completely different parallel reality, but it's relevant for your timeline here, and so you pick up on it because the communication between you is always open.
Okay, so on the topic of death,
Yes.
we've recently done a deep dive into near-death experiences and into the afterlife. We've met a lot of people that have said that they've died and then come back, and,
Yes.
and during that period, they saw a white light, and then they went to another place, a place where they saw all manner of beings, extraterrestrial, human, animal, and then they
Yes.
made a decision to come back to this planet and keep on living.
Yes.
Do you know, what can you tell me about this place, this afterlife?
It is your natural place. You are in spirit right now. All of you are. You've never left spirit. You're still there, or at least most of you is. Again, physical reality is just a projection of consciousness. It's like the spirit is having a dream, or part of it is dreaming that it's no longer in spirit. But you are in spirit. So, for example, let us say that you as a physical being are asleep at night and having a very realistic dream. It seems very real. But then you wake up in the morning and you go, oh, well, no matter how real that seemed, this is who I really am. Death is like that to some degree. You will wake up back into spirit having finished this physical dream and say, well, that was very real at the time, but this is who I really am. You will be a more expanded version of yourself that will have many opportunities to experience many different kinds of things beyond physical reality, or experience physical reality again in many forms. It's up to you. You have free will to choose. That's your greatest power, the freedom to choose what you will experience. But you're there right now in spirit. All of you are. All of us are. That is home. That's where we all come from. All roads lead back to spirit. All of them. No matter what people may think, no matter what they say they believe, no matter what they do, all roads lead back to spirit. Are there consequences for the choices you make? Certainly. And you will experience that to some degree, but not as a punishment, only as an instruction for how to make better choices, more positive choices in your next experience. Remember, when you talk as humans about the unconditional love of all that is, the unconditional love of the Creator, the unconditional love of Goddess God, maybe many of you need to look that word up in the dictionary. Unconditional means unconditional. Unconditional.
I hear you, Bashar.
All right.
I hear you.
All right. So,
It's interesting because a lot of people on our planet right now are trying to figure out what happens when you die, or what is the spirit. But that's information that's been kept away from us.
to some degree, although the near-death experiences are giving you a little bit of a snapshot. But since they don't fully die, they're not getting the whole picture because they don't go beyond a certain point because they need to come back to the physical dream. So the idea is that, yes, not everyone experiences exactly the same thing, but there is usually, on average, some form of conduit or tunnel or transference understanding, not always. You understand now the experience of unconditional love. You are permeated by it because now there's no physical impediment to block it, no belief system to block it. Usually you will experience some form of life review, although again it may not be a full one because you're not fully dead, as you say. You're not staying in the spirit world. And you will usually assess what it is you need to learn from the experiences that your life has given you. You may meet people that have passed on. You may meet the light of all that is, the light of different guides. You may experience other kinds of beings there. You may not. It depends on what your purpose is. Some people will experience things that they describe as a little bit hellish, but that may simply be the result of the belief systems they carried over into the spirit world that have a kind of residue to them that you haven't let go of. But there is no actual hell as you describe it, because exactly in the spirit world, time is very malleable. It is, in a sense, timeless, even though there is a form of time. As an experience, you actually have the ability to shift instantaneously into any kind of scenario whatsoever. So even if someone did experience the so-called fires of hell, and they didn't like it very much, as soon as they said they didn't like it very much, they would shift out of it.
Right. Are there any elements or minerals that we on our planet that we haven't discovered yet that could really help us with health or with technology?
Yes, and there are those that you could actually manufacture that would help you as well. So you can continue learning the alloys and mixtures and so on and so forth of what different frequencies and resonances of the different kinds of elements and minerals do, and keep exploring that idea to make your own discoveries. But yes, when you get out into space far enough, you will discover that there are other minerals, not so much the idea of other elements, although there are a few, but other minerals and combinations of elements that could be very beneficial to you. Now, one was brought up, since you mentioned the idea of Robert Lazar, as element 115,
Right.
which you have now identified on your planet in minute quantities for a brief period of time. And it is given to you that if you wish to experiment with this, you would find that if you add to that element 88 neutrons, you'll be able to have something that can manipulate the gravitational field.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Is it possible for humans to become more telepathic and to use more than 10% of our brains? And why do we have this 100% capacity but only use such a small amount?
You are using 100% of your brain to make it seem as if you're only using 10%. That's the joke.
Right.
You are using 100%. It's not about learning to use 100%. It's about learning how to use the 100% in a different way. It's just that your belief systems are limiting you. Your fear-based beliefs and negative beliefs are limiting your experience into seeming like you're only using 10%. But you are using all of it. Now, the idea of telepathic contact, again, as with many definitions on your planet, are not exactly accurate descriptions of how it works. Telepathy, or what we choose to refer to as telempathy, is the idea of being on the same wavelength as someone else, being in a harmonic frequency with them. Telepathy is not reading someone else's mind. Telepathy is being on the same wavelength and having the same thoughts at the same time. You're reading your own mind, but you're having similar thoughts to the other person because you are harmonizing with them on a similar wavelength. This is why people who are in love on your planet often know exactly what each other is thinking, finish each other's sentences all the time, hardly have to say a word to be in sync. So the idea of loving yourself and being loving to humanity will allow you to become more telepathic and know exactly what each other are thinking when you need to. This doesn't mean that you invade anyone's privacy, but the idea is that you have to be on a similar wavelength to each other to really be telepathically bonded.
Right. We talked a little bit earlier about archaeology, about there being artifacts hidden underneath the ground here that could, I guess, give us more information about our past. Are there any areas that you could point to more specifically where we should direct people to look?
There are chambers under the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid that contain some records. There are caves in the area known as Peru that are ancient that contain some records. One moment. There are areas in Tibet that still contain some of the ancient records. At the same time that all this exists and is capable of being found, when open contact occurs, one of the gifts that you will be given from a certain group of extraterrestrials is the entire record of your history.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple of mathematical questions that were given to me by a scientist.
Yes.
I don't even understand the questions I'm asking, so I'm hoping that you'll have a better chance than I will of answering them.
Perhaps.
Is every even number greater than 4 the sum of 2 primes?
Yes. Now, you have to understand, if you're going into the idea of mathematical notation and nomenclature, I am not speaking your language. I am simply harmonizing telepathically, and my thoughts are linking to the channel's thoughts, and the channel is acting as a translation device. If the vocabulary is not in the channel's mind, we may have a challenge expressing nomenclatures that he is unaware of. And in addition to that, our civilization, in terms of what you might refer to as its mathematical understanding, operates more geometrically than mathematically in the way that you do. So we might have a different way of expressing things. For example, you have a concept called the uncertainty principle. Our way of expressing this is not through mathematics, but through the idea of geometry. If you imagine a tetrahedral structure, you have 3 points on the base and 1 point at the apex. This idea not only encompasses the uncertainty principle, but the exclusion principle that you name in your physics as well, where you have 3 points that operate in a plane, but the 4th point is out of that plane and therefore cannot be known in the same plane as the other 3 points. Just as your scientists say that you cannot know the momentum and the position of a subatomic particle simultaneously. But we express that geometrically, while you express that through the idea of your physics mathematically. So if the vocabulary is not in the channel, we may not be able to express what it is the scientist is seeking exactly.
Okay.
We may be able to explain the caveats of why things work and don't work in a way that the language can be formed. But we find that on your planet, many scientists are prone to using typical metaphysical understandings of how things are supposed to work. As we said, with telepathy, most metaphysical people on your planet that are oriented that way think that you're reading someone else's mind. A scientist, therefore, may fall prey to the idea of using the typical definition of telepathy to ask their questions, when in fact asking, well, can you show us how mind reading works? We would have to say there's no such thing, because you're not reading someone else's mind. You're reading your own mind by being on a similar wavelength to them and having the same thoughts at the same time. So we may have to lay foundations that explain how these things actually function, because many of the questions that some scientists may ask have absolutely nothing at all to do with how these things actually work, because they have fallen into the nomenclature of the metaphysical world that they're skeptical of.
Okay. I only have a few more questions for you, Bashar, before I let you go back to your amazing life in your other realm. This might sound like a strange question. I don't even know how to ask it properly, so I'll just do it as best as I can.
All right.
What question am I not asking you that I should be asking? What information do we need to know? What are we not asking that is so pertinent to our evolution?
Well, we have given you the idea of the formula, and in a sense, if there is any shoulds to it at all, which there aren't, that is the primary question you could be asking, is how do we live a life of creative fulfillment and joy? Because it's all about attracting what you need more than it is about attracting what you want. So how can we attract what we truly need to be creative, positive, constructive, giving, serving individuals who live lives of joy. And the formula has already been given to you.
Right.
The instruction manual is the answer to that question,
Okay.
which we would simply deem or suggest could be one of the most important questions you yourselves could ask.
Is there something coming that we need to be aware of so that we can protect ourselves and our existence?
You are talking about protection, and that means you are talking about the fear of needing protection, and that's a fear-based perspective.
Okay.
Yes, there may be many things, but again, if you stay relatively positive in a higher vibration, then as you say on your planet, things could be falling apart all around you and you will be fine. Again, you have to rely on synchronicity as being the guiding principle and the organizing principle of all that you experience. Everything is an orchestration. Everything is synchronicity. No matter what it appears to be, you are where you are when you are there for a reason. It may not be perfectly the reasons you need, but it might be that you're there to serve someone else getting something that they need. You have to look at it as a dance, an orchestration that is absolutely perfectly timed and complete. Then you will understand that you are deciding both subconsciously, unconsciously, and consciously what it is you believe you need to experience to wake yourselves up to the truth of your being. If you believe that you need a shock to wake yourselves up, you will deliver a shock. If you believe you can do it more smoothly than that, more lovingly than that, more kindly than that, that is the way you will experience it. So we would suggest you do not fear the idea of needing protection, because that invites disaster, but simply be in the positive state, be in your frame of reference that is true for you, and you will see everything unfold in the way that you need to, learning the lessons you need to learn and completing the missions and the themes you decided to experience by having a physical experience on Earth. Remember, when your time that you've decided is over, it's over. If you have decided a time that is different, you will never leave until it is over. So worry not. Live your life to the fullest. The timing will take care of itself.
Okay, so one question that everyone I've spoken to has asked me to ask is, can you tell us a little bit about the planet that you live on and what your life is like? What does it look like? What do you look like?
As a hybrid being made of human genetics from your world and from the genetics of the Greys and a few other species, I am similar to you in humanoid form, though much slighter, shall we say, much thinner in general, smaller in general. Our average height is about 5 feet. Our skin is usually very pale, though there are some exceptions. The males have no hair, the females do. It tends to be white, though again there are exceptions. Our eyes are much larger than yours. Our noses, mouths, and ears much smaller. Our heads are slightly larger than yours on average. Our world is left mostly natural. We may construct certain structures from time to time for specific purposes, but they are usually disassembled. These structures are temporary and usually disassembled when they are no longer needed. Our spaceships are our cities. So the world is relatively natural. You could survive there if you make a shift to our parallel reality, though it is a little bit richer in oxygen and moisture. You might be a little dizzy at first, but you could acclimate to it. There's a lot of rich foliage, a lot of beautiful scenarios, and a lot of beautiful animals and plants on our planet. There are
Different from our animals and our plants?
some of them are actually animals from your planet. Many of them are actually different from your planet, though some of them are similar. There is a type of being called a Viqua, which, though this may sound strange to you, was the original template that was used to create our hybrid civilization. It still exists among us. It might be very similar by analogy to what you may call a white, hairless, ape-like figure, though it is not like your apes at all. But it still exists among us as the original template from which we were created as a hybrid artificial civilization. Our planet was also engineered for us specifically.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I presume that your language, the language that's spoken, is very different from ours. Would it be possible for you to speak to me in your language for a moment?
Our language is a remnant language, which we mostly no longer use, though we can, because again, our society is mostly telepathic. So it is usually unnecessary, though we can bring it through the channel in certain ways. Ha'atu is a general greeting. Aveo is kind of used as a thank you, but it actually means in service. Aveo. It is a hybrid language made up of languages of Earth and other civilizations, so some of it may seem familiar and some of it may not. One person once asked us to translate the first line from your prayer called the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven. This translates in our ancient language as Nui Tadeo Asha Shakanani. Nui, our, Tadeo, Father, Asha, that is in, Shakanani, the place of spirit of the highest form. That's the closest translation that can be made. Will that do?
That was incredible. I have one last question for you. Or I have 40 million questions for you, but this is the last one I'll ask you today.
All right.
And I really appreciate your time, Bashar. I consider myself to be a first contact specialist as well. I guess what I believe my mission is to help normalize the existence of extraterrestrial life so that people here can accept it and then can embrace it and hopefully bring forward a visitation. Is there anything that I can do or people like me can do to help influence those around us to feel more comfortable with this topic?
You can use your creativity and imagination as you're already doing, providing outlets for the sharing of the information. But the most important thing you can do is whatever people do with the information, you have to realize it's none of your business what they do with it. Whether they are influenced by it or not will be their decision. None of them have to believe. Everyone has their own path. You don't know what their life path is. They may not have chosen a life path where they have first contact, and that's all right. Remember, you are all infinite, eternal spirits. There's no hurry. Something you don't learn today or experience today, you will learn tomorrow or a million years from now, because time is irrelevant in the spirit world. So, share what you share when it is appropriate. Let those that gravitate to it do so, because they are willing to receive it. Whatever gifts you all have to give, there has to be someone willing to receive it, or you wouldn't be excited about giving that gift or sharing that information. As we say, using an analogy from your world, there are no one-sided coins. If you have the head, there is a tail, or there's no coin at all. So if you're excited to give a gift or share some information when it is appropriate, there must, by definition, be someone waiting to receive it. But that doesn't mean everyone is. So share what you share when it is appropriate. Whatever people do with that information is none of your business. Move on. And that will be the most that you can help. And you will help create an atmosphere and a vibration that allows more people more of an opportunity, more options to choose from to maybe move in a more positive direction. But you have to leave that up to them.
Wow. Well, Bashar, thank you so much for your time.
It is our passion and our pleasure. We thank you for the interaction and the co-creation in service. Aveo. Good day.
Aveo. Good day.
How did it go?
Wow! That was incredible.
Yeah, go well?
Yes.
Oh, good.